I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. So lovely to chat to you. I wondered how you both saw each of your characters, and as we see, revisit where they are at the beginning of season 2, both are kind of in turmoil in different respects. So maybe you just talk a bit about where we're going to see them again and what we can expect for their arcs for this second season. I'll start with you, Rain.
You will expect to see Rachel really battle internally and trying to handle it on the outside, because she's always been running herself more so as a machine. And this season is kind of impossible to do that. And so you're going to see her try and navigate on how to deal with her internal traumas and everything of the sort, on top of being on an island.
Yeah, I think with Leah, she, like all the girls, is battling her inner monsters or inner demons. And I think this season she becomes more aware of how that journey within herself affects the greater group, and just how much she can push those relationships to the edge. And at the same time as pushing them, rely on them as well, to sort of keep her grounded.
And I just wondered what you would hope people would take away from the show, because it obviously has the kind of aspects of a thriller, that kind of suspense, not knowing what's going to happen next. But it really does seem to kind of break some boundaries in terms of the diversity of the cast, but, from ethnicity and their backgrounds to sexuality. Along with shows like Euphoria, it feels like there's a real appetite out there to look at the pressures on young people's lives in a very kind of nuanced way.
I think that it, to not be surprised by representation in future television, that it's, that you can feel, obviously I relate to Leah, but there are so many characters on this show that can feel very distant from me in terms of like my own personal experience. And yet I find myself watching it and, relating to it. And I think that's what people found so exciting about the first season. I hope when they watch the second that they're just thrilled by it, that they're invested, that they feel terrible when terrible things happen to these characters that they love, that they feel vengeful, against the people that perpetrated things against them, that they feel like they want to watch the next episode, that they're entertained. I think it's such a great gift of entertainment, of a television show, to feel so invested and feel really sad when it's over. I hope they're sad when the finale hits, because they want more.
Yeah. And I would say, I love that you said, don't be surprised by representation. I think that's so important. And to also, like, representation to me is just showing the humanity and different stories of a bunch of different people. We are all in this huge world, and there's billions of people, and to not expect one story to be like the other and to showcase that, I think is super important, and just seeing that we're all human.
Hi, girls. So this new season introduces a new group of boys in this case. So how can you compare how the boys reacted versus the girls? And if the girls and boys were together in the first place, do you think that we would be watching a season of Love Island or Survivor?
I'm sorry, that was so funny to me. I think in terms of how the boys act versus the girls act, I think you're really just going to see the dynamic of how the difference in thinking. And that is a good question. If they were to come together, I don't know if it'd be Love Island, possibly, maybe not. I have no clue. What do you think, Sarah?
I think just I can speak for the Girls Island. There are definitely things that pull people together, as we've seen in season 1, and push us apart. And I think the same could be said if there was going to be a mashup, if we had been together from season 1, episode 1. And I think as much as you talked about differences, Rain, I think that although they are different islands, there are some similarities, I think. And it's up to the audience, the viewers, to decide how they feel about Gretchen's experiment and how they think the islands have dealt with the challenges that they were met with.
Thank you.
Sarah from the UK, Martina from Italy.
What's the main lesson you think your characters learned from season 1, and how are they going to apply it in season 2?
Rain, do you want to start?
Sure. I think as far as the lesson that Rachel learned season 1, I don't necessarily know if it applies to season 2 100%. I think, yes, she's learning that she can ask for help. I think that still does correlate, but she's also just experiencing something she never really has before at a different level. And she's learning a whole new lesson about maybe how to be okay with just feeling in general.
I think with Leah in season 1, she understands that her mind can run away from her at times, and she has to learn a lesson time and time again of the effects and consequences that has. And I think in season 2, with that awareness that she has of her instincts not always being accurate, although there are like ounces of truth in every one of them, I think she finesses that more. It takes her throughout the season, but I think she's beginning to understand that instinct and sort of she doesn't overcorrect as much as she did season 1.
Sabrina from Italy.
Hello there. The Wise is a series full of action and wild scenes. So which were the hardest ones to shoot?
I'm sorry, may you repeat that? It broke up on my end.
Which were the hardest scenes that you find very hard to shoot?
Ooh, we have a lot of intense scenes that cause you to have to give a lot of emotion. I think that was something definitely for me this season, navigating a lot of emotions. Even the episode, I think maybe episode 1 of season 2 might have been the hardest scenes for me to shoot.
I think I think some of the water scenes were difficult for me to shoot this season because it's in the emotional place that Leah found herself in, that paired with just the physical task of swimming and keeping one's literal head above water while she was trying to do that internally, I think was a struggle to sort of figure out where one's attention is placed at any given time.
Gabriela from Brazil.
Hi, I'm Gabriela from Legião dos Heróis. Would you say season 2 were more difficult than season 1, physically and mentally speaking?
I think they're just so different. I think season 2, you know these characters, and it's going even deeper to the given circumstances that the audience, the information that they have about these people. So it's figuring out the new layers that exist in those experiences that they brought to the island and now have held with them during this experience. I think in terms of physically difficult, we were surviving season 1 and we were certainly surviving season 2. We were in 2 different countries filming season 1 versus season 2. So different environments, I think, offer different challenges. It's hard to say. They're just they're two very different experiences of the same show with the same heart in both seasons.
Yeah, I would say for me, season 1 was a lot more physically challenging. I think season 1, I had the most stunts, but only a couple on top of Sarah still. We had a lot of stunts to do season 1. And season 2, there were still some stunts, but I think it was more emotionally demanding than season 1 for me.
Mariana from Brazil.
Hey girls, so nice to meet you. Here in Brazil, The Wives is seen as this iconic series that shows the complexity behind each personality. And Leah and Rachel are good examples of that. In this season, we will see the two coming together out of grief, disappointment, and was it challenging to convey and connect to your characters' conflicted feelings on the island, having already exposed to the after feelings during the last season's investigation?
I think for me, as far as connecting like Rachel to Leah, I didn't find it difficult because I think that season 1, you kind of see them butt heads, but you see that they're very similar in how they take on things. They might do it a little bit differently, but the root for them is very similar. And how they handle extreme situations. They're very extreme individuals. So it wasn't very difficult to find those moments to then connect because both of them at the end of season 1 are in 2 very extreme and intense places. So I don't think it was for me difficult to connect at all.
Yeah, I think there's a very clear moment in season 2 where that sort of gets put behind them. I think, like you said, Rain, they react in such extreme ways that's actually sort of their commonality. And yeah, that's how they bond. And they ultimately support each other and sort of get each other out of 2 very different ruts. But that is what brings them together. The very thing that pushed them apart the first season.
Duarte?
Yes, sorry, I forgot to mute.
No problem.
So Rain, I learned that you used for the first time your natural hair on this show. So how was the feeling of not having a wig on this job, and how was the experience to shoot a season where you couldn't use your hand?
So as far as the natural hair experience, I was very liberated. I think it was something I was really looking forward to because you don't always get the opportunity to in Hollywood for numerous reasons, just old, ways of thinking, but also a lot of people don't necessarily know how to do textured hair. So to have someone there that knows how to do it and have a show that's willing to make sure that someone's there that knows how to do it so that I could have that representation out there for other individuals watching the show is really important to me. And then as far as you working without a hand this season, that was a journey. It was definitely a lot more difficult, so to speak, than I even thought. I know, okay, I'm not going to have a hand. But to actually go through it and do it with special effects, there were so many times where they were like, okay, everybody at the scene, we just have to do a pass on Rain's hand for special effects. Those after every single scene. So it was definitely a process, but I think it looks really cool. It ended up looking really great for the show and telling that part of the story.
Martina?
Yeah, in season 1, we have a bunch of timelines. We have the past, the future, the present, but also in this season, we have many timelines, including the boys. So was it hard to actually stay on track and knowing what you were actually shooting on set?
Well, the way that we shot was there would be, just because of location wise, it was much easier to, when the girls would be together, we would shoot maybe 5-6 days in a row, have the half of the end of the week and the beginning of the next week. So I think we continued to find our rhythm and you're able to, just like the first season, we would shoot an episode out of order as well. So I don't think it was such a shock to have, different characters to new characters, additional characters to sort of keep track of and the story that we were telling. At the beginning of every new episode, we would all sit down as a cast and, we'd all talk about it afterwards and figure out how we felt about it and how this changed from the episode before. I think the show is always sort of a juggling act, you know, and not just because these characters that go through a lot of trauma. There's huge builds in every episode. But I think that this season, again, we were successful in really telling the truth of each story, and consistently and well.
Yeah, I think that, like Sarah said, this show has always been a juggling act. And I think, I also think we've, as a cast, done a really great job of supporting each other through that juggling act. And it's something you do kind of get used to when you say it out loud. When you think about the schedules that we have, you're like, a lot of people might just be like, what? But we, after like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks, we're like, oh yeah, this is just, you know, how it goes, and getting the different information and just going for it.
Sabrina?
Yeah, just a basic question, actually. So I want to know what you and your character have in common.
What do me and my character have in common? Being okay with feeling, I'd say. Being okay with, like, I feel this way and it's not always great. And that's okay, but it doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way. But working on not suppressing things, I would say.
I think Leah and I have being an extreme overthinker in common. And I think it takes her a little, I'll stick at that. She's an overthinker. Clearly I'm overthinking right now. And I'm an overthinker as well.
Gabriella?
So in season 2, we have the boys, and you get to know them and their characters. So if you were to get stuck in an island with one of the boys, the character or the actor, which one would you choose? Rain, you can start.
I think I'd choose Henry, not just because me and Aiden are like really close, but he has a lot of knowledge on survival and wilderness. So I think that would be a smart move.
I think I would choose Ivan, because Ivan is a huge reader. He's constantly name dropping authors and books. And I think if we were stranded on an island, Leah and Ivan could sort of tell audiobooks to each other to help pass the time. And I have a great affinity for Miles Gutierrez.
And our last question, Mariana.
Well, we talked about difficulty here, but in this season, we also have doubts, giving space to moments of more union and lightness between the girls. And the cast must have felt even more comfortable with each other. So what was the funniest moment or scene to choose to shoot? And Rain, I love the Jacuzzi Queens scene.
Oh my God. I think, honestly, this season, I think me and Sarah had so many funny moments. On and off screen, she scared me so bad when we were filming this scene in, I think it was episode 3. She scared me so bad.
We were waiting to come in with the that box. Yeah. How did I scare you?
You scared me because it was nighttime, and and also, mind you, there was this was like the coverage on all the other girls to us walking in, so we're just there for eye line pretty much. And I had like this tambourine in my hand, and Sarah made me think a spider was jumping down from above me, and we're in freaking Australia. So I'm like a spider, and I literally jumped and threw the tambourine almost into the scene, and like had to sneak back in and get it before anybody noticed. And we were cracking up on the side. So I think on and off screen, we had a lot of funny and uniting moments for Rachel and Leah and Sarah and Rain.
Agreed.
Thank you so much. That concludes our roundtables. Please say your goodbyes and then exit the room.
Thank you, girls.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, girls.
Stay.
Thanks for your time. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.